Welcome. We are back with another podcast. Just to remind you, the goal of these is to give our community a closer look at the people, programs, and priorities that are shaping our schools. My name is Valerie Morris. I'm the Director of Communications for Snyder ISD, and I'm also a proud Tiger parent. My hope is to help our community better understand the thoughtful and often behind the scenes work that happens each day at Snyder ISD. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Jessica Gore. She is our newly named superintendent for Snyder ISD. First of all, a formal congratulations on being named superintendent and for being the first female superintendent for Snyder ISD.
Thank you. It is a really exciting opportunity.
So, last time we talked, you were in your first 30 days. And just for our viewers, know that you can go back and rewatch any of our podcasts anytime. But now that you've had more time in this role, what initiatives are you excited to see that are now taking shape? And what are you seeing across campuses that are telling you we're moving in the right direction?
So it's going to be hard to answer this in a short time frame because I could talk on and on and on about the work that's been happening for the last few years in Snyder ISD and how I can assure the community and parents that that is going to set us up for success. So let me think about the biggest ones that maybe have the most impact on kids. What research tells us is that teachers are the number one most impactful factor for a child's success, the number one. So the classroom teacher that your child has makes or breaks their academic year, and that makes sense. What that means for me, not only is pressure to make sure there's great people in every classroom, but it's also pressure around sustainability and retention. Because on my end, every time we have to bring in a new staff, that's new training, new onboarding, teaching them how we do business, teaching them our non-negotiables. And so the more retention that we can prioritize, the more success for our kids and for the system of Snyder ISD. And so the first highlight that comes to mind is just the dramatic improvement in retention rates year over year. We are not near at the turnover rate that we have been historically, at least at mid-year. I can't quite speak to spring yet. We're in the middle of that, but we also are not at a point where we're nervous about filling vacancies to open doors next year. And so parents, what that means is that teachers continue to want to stay here. And there's lots of reasons that I would say that's true. Of course, we increased salaries last year, sustainability and leadership, same curriculum year over year. We're trying to reduce change, increase understanding and direction and vision. So all of those things are going to benefit your kids. The second thing that comes to mind that is worth celebrating publicly is retention and leadership. Principals are the second most impactful factor for children. And y'all know that. If you've had a strong or a weak principal, you know your kid feels it. They may not know why they feel it, but it's this constant whiplash, or it's this not knowing what a field trip is, or it's this, hey, parent, tomorrow is a party and you didn't know. Leadership really matters, and leadership at all levels really matter. And year over year that I've been here for the 2 years in hiring season, there's been some pretty dramatic changes, and those had to happen, and they were not fun. But because leadership matters so much for the kids, that's my job. And so I want to celebrate that next year you will not be seeing a lot of leadership turnovers in our system. Also, just large scale, our strategic plan, we are wrapping up year one. And so I was here in the planning year. And then this year we have launched and completed successfully our year one. And it is exciting to outline all of these metrics that you hope come to fruition, and then to measure them, monitor them, have a committee that oversees that scope of work, and be able to tell the community, not only did we say we were going to do A, B, C, D, we've done it. And so in year one, how exciting to celebrate that as we start thinking about year two. And then the final thing I want to celebrate publicly is it is no surprise that we get to work with TEA because we are in school improvement. When your junior high carries a letter grade that has to be improved, there's certain compliance steps and action plans and work and meetings and quarterly evaluations and all of these things that we have to do. And I would use the phrase we get to do because it makes us better. If what the state sees is not good, that means what kids are receiving is not good. And so we just wrapped up our final evaluation with school improvement, our monitor that is assigned by TEA, and it was a very successful call. So now the only next step is waiting for actual student outcomes to improve. And Valerie, that's coming up soon.
It is. It is. And tell me, because I know that you are in classrooms often. You're out and about. In fact, you were out this morning. What kind of academic growth are you seeing? What does real academic growth look like? And what are some of the things happening day to day that you're seeing that our community might not see?
So, what I want to tell the community is that relationships and culture drive academics. And so, it's not that we've had bad or weak teachers in Snyder ISD that have created this. It's not that we've had bad or low kids that have created this. It is culture and systems and relationships that serve as the foundation for you to build academic success on. And so, on my end, as a leader, culture, relationships, and the way in which we do business as a system and all the expectations and protocols for how we handle A and how we handle B and what do you do if, and then you do this. That's my job to tee up and manage and oversee that work. And so I can talk about academic success that will be coming because all of those things are improving. Now, are they perfect? Absolutely not. Can we do business better every day? Of course. But are they getting better dramatically and heading in the right direction? Yes. And so, speaking about visiting classrooms and academic success, I am in classrooms for sure weekly, if not daily. And I'll tell you, the reason I'm so excited to be in a 4A district at this point is because I get to be boots on the ground, but I also get to make decisions that impact thousands of people. This is really fun to me. I love overseeing the forest of trees, if you will, and making large scale executive type of leadership decisions. I like doing that work. But man, there's nothing better than also having a relationship with 2,300 kids and knowing that what decision you make here in this office or in this boardroom, like I can think of faces and names that will impact. And so on my end, for knowing what it looks like with accountability and with academic success, both of these really matter. And so there's a few things that I can call out that are justification or metrics to say why I know what's happening in Snyder ISD is getting better. Of course, I can tell you all the HR side of things and why things are getting better. But when I walk in a classroom, there are certain look fors. Number one is the relationship with teachers and kids. Like you can tell if adults love children quickly, and you can tell if adults love their job very quickly. And when I'm in classrooms every single day, it's not a dog and pony show because I'm there every single day. I know who loves their job and is doing the job for the right reason and who is here to really serve kids. Once I make sure all of those aspects are in place for an organization or a campus, the next look for is that they're following what we expect. And it's not that I want you to be a robot in a classroom reading a scripted curriculum, but rather it's about this is best practice. And if this is our state adopted curriculum, HQIM or high quality instructional materials, which is a grade level state approved resource that the state says this is great for kids and this is on grade level for kids, then it's our job to make sure that's delivered every day. And so that would be a next look for in classrooms. And I'll tell you on our school improvement visits that we've had 4 of this year with TEA in Region 14, 100% of the time were teachers delivering the expected curriculum. Now, from the teacher perspective, sometimes that's not fun. Like sometimes you want to spice up your curriculum and add in a fun unit tied to a holiday. And so what we're trying to find now is the balance between what the state expects and what we have to do when we've received grants or we're in trouble with the state versus like I chose to be a teacher and I just love this craft and how do I marry the two? And so that's what we're getting to see now. The pendulum was like we were doing teacher pay teacher and Pinterest. Now it was like, we have to follow this and be a robot in the classroom. And instead, how do you do both? It's an and, it's not an or. And then outside of that, another look for that I expect is teachers to be collaborating well. You're better when you're together. And I know that's a cheesy saying, but when there are 8 brains planning a 3rd grade lesson, that is way better than me trying to plan a 3rd grade lesson. And Valerie, all of those things I've seen a dramatic improvement in the 2 years I've been here, but specifically this calendar year.
That's exciting. And you definitely can feel it through the hallways. We've seen it on the internal surveys that we've done as well. When we ask teachers, what can we improve? Or what do you like that's going well? We're getting great feedback from our staff. And so I can definitely attest to the fact that not only are we seeing it in the hallways, but the teachers are reiterating that. And we're hoping that our families are seeing it too. Can you walk us through some things in some simple terms? First of all, what exactly is STAAR?
So STAAR is the assessment in Texas that is given on one day per grade level and content, depending on your grade level, that we are rated as a school district, as a campus, and your child is rated as on grade level or not. And so those windows of test are coming up for the state and then specifically in Snyder ISD. So the state gives us a window, it's about a 2 week window, and we decide what day we want to give that within the window. So all of those dates, families, have been communicated in multiple platforms to you. It's on our events calendar online, it's been in the newsletter. I know principals have been pushing that out in their various forms of communication. It's important to you that you know when is the day your eighth grader will be taking their social studies test. And so, families on your end, communication is important for us. We've done everything we can to tell you so that you can better prepare. But outside of that, the test is pressure, you guys. I'm not even going to skirt around that. But I'll tell you, in the real world, there are tests that I take that are pressure. There was a superintendent test, there was a principal test, there were tests to get into college, there were tests for scholarships. Like there are certain parts of life that even if we don't like them, they're required to do well in your career. My husband does not have a college degree and he did not pursue the academic route. He went the oil field route and he still is held accountable in a high pressure setting often. You have to perform. And so right now, it doesn't matter if we don't like how the state measures accountability. It's the game we have to know and the game we have to understand. And I only think it's fair that the kids understand and are able to empathize with it's a high stakes day. I still love you as a child, no matter how you perform on that day. But this day tells us, as Jessica Gore, as my daughter, and this is how we measure what we do with you next. And so from the parent end, communication is important. A routine is important the night before, making sure they have a good dinner, making sure they go to bed on time or early if they don't have a bedtime. The next morning of smoothness, predictability, breakfast, arriving on time, not providing your kid with like, do your best but also not telling your kid, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It does. And so as a parent, you decide how you deliver that message to your child. I can assure you, teachers have done everything they know in their power to prepare your kid up here and here with their heart to do well on this test. So dates are coming up. Parents, routine matters on your end. But kids, what I want you to hear from me if you're watching this video is that you are ready. You are ready. When you go in to play a game, you never walk in thinking you're going to lose. No one does that. No, don't do that. You walk in and you know that you're going to win. That's what I want the mentality and the vibe to be from kids when they walk in. Like, I am about to crush this test. My teacher has been using grade level curriculum all year long. There have been multiple benchmarks to coach me and grow me as an athlete or as an academic kiddo. Like, I am about to nail this. That needs to be your mentality.
And I think that's such good life advice as well. Like you mentioned, there's so many high stakes events that we have in our own professional lives as well. And this is good preparation for that. And also mentally, how to prepare for things like this. It's a great life lesson as well. Yes. My kids hear that all the time from me. I know they're tired of it, but it's true. So tell me a little bit, what does STAAR actually measuring when a student takes it? I know there's different things that we're measured on. Can you explain that a little bit about what it's actually measuring?
So it's measuring, does your kid know grade level material? So if they are a seventh grader and they're going to take reading and math, it's measuring what percent of the expected TEKS or standards or objectives does your kid know for that content. And then you get a score that tells you what percentage they are, what percentile they are in the state. And then they fall in a performance level category around which of that bell curve do they sit in. So there is low does not approach, high does not approach, approaching grade level, meeting grade level, mastering grade level. And so what parents will see is does not meet, approaches, meets, masters. What we see is where they fall on that bell curve. And then we get to dig in a little bit more and see exactly what is your child lacking to have mastered grade level. So the state uses the language meets. The state, of course, and as a parent, of course, you want your kid on grade level. Of course. In fact, I want my kids above grade level. They better be. Let's hope. Anyway, the teacher's job is to do everything they can in their power to make sure a kid grows a full academic year. So if I received your kid, let's say in English 1, my job is to make sure they grow an academic year. Well, if we receive your kid and they're below grade level, we still want them to grow an academic year. And so teachers know all of the intricacies and understand the game of what's weighted more and what TEKS matter more and what's tested most and what's never tested and what's a readiness standard and what's a supporting standard. That's our job. What I want a kid to see and what I want a parent to hear is that the goal is your kid is on grade level or above grade level, because that means they're ready for whatever they want to do after high school.
And that's some of the behind the scenes work that I don't know that families always understand, but they should value. And why I think it's so important as a parent is that I know that if my child missed some academic standards on a STAAR test, that next year's teacher is looking at that, or if we're doing benchmarks through the year, which we are, those teachers are looking at that and saying, ooh, we need to go back and make sure that this child masters this concept. And so that's why it's so important for kids to do their best and not blow these tests off,
Yeah.
because they are so important in helping teachers really craft the educational experience for their child.
Mm-hmm. And Valerie, I just want to emphasize, it's not just classroom teachers looking at this data. I have looked at every single child's benchmark data on every test. I may not know every single child when I see an ID number and a name. I'm much better with faces, but I can tell you I've looked at every single child's results and I have coached principals. Now what? 72 of your kids need support in this area. Your master schedule doesn't allow for it. How, as a leader, are you going to remove that hurdle? As instructional coaches, I have said, man, I've noticed a decline in this grade level in this content. I need less of your time here. I need more of your time here. Our job in this season of leadership is to react to what we see. Now, all year long, you don't react. That's not an effective leader. That causes like this trauma emergency mindset. It's to be proactive and lay the foundation of success. But right now, between benchmark and STAAR, we are reacting to what we see, and not in a unpredictable way, but a data-driven systemic method. And so, yes, classroom teachers intimately know their children and their data. But on this side, remember I was talking like boots on the ground versus seeing the forest. I want you to know on this side, I'm using that to build out what we do next year in the schedule. I'm using this to build out and post jobs around what more support we need to see in classrooms at schools. And so I want you to know that it's a up and down leadership model. Sometimes I'm up here saying we've got to do this, and I want people to be reorganized in this method, and principals do the same thing for their school. But other times it's I want to look at this teacher and I want to look at these 12 kids and how are you going to pull a small group in rotations of 3 and offer these TEKS for this group and then these TEKS for this group, and then I want a writing sample for this group. So in Snyder ISD, we're not just hoping results get better. We're not like throwing glitter in the air and just hoping it looks pretty in a few weeks. There has been so much strategy and intentionality around preparing for this test, and not because I believe teaching to the test is how we do business. I don't. But that's how we're measured. And you've got to prepare for game day. And our game day is coming up. But I want to remind everyone, I've just alluded to relationships driving everything we do. So we're not now just becoming robots that teach to the test. We have a relationship. Kids know that we care about them. Kids know that we love them. Teachers know that I love them and couldn't support them any more than I currently do. But the stakes are high right now. And so parents, we need your support. Kids, we need your 110% effort because our game day is coming up.
And so tell me, why does this game day matter so much, not just for the student, but for the district as well?
So what I want you guys to hear, because I often get the reputation of like everything I do is around data. It is. But I want to change the connotation of that. When you go to a doctor, you would hope that what they're prescribing you is based on your last blood results or your BMI or whatever data point they're measuring. When my dad had cancer, they were adjusting his chemo treatment based on his cancer markers. So like every industry adjusts what they do and how they do business based on data. So I don't want data and data-driven leadership to get a negative connotation because it's applied to kids. Rather, I want it to be a respected leadership model, because it means we're adjusting, we're reacting to how we do business based on what your third grader needs. And that should be reassuring as a parent.
So tell me a little bit about why this test is so important also for the district.
So this is how we get a letter grade. So you often hear an A-rated district, a B-rated district, a C-rated district, a D-rated district, which is what Snyder ISD currently carries. D is not good. I don't care what kind of parent you are. I don't care what kind of business person you are. You don't want your kid to have a D. And so whether or not we agree with the pressure of the test, these days coming up are the only way that our primary, intermediate, and junior high are rated. The only way. There is nothing else that affects their letter grade outside of these tests coming up and TELPAS, which is another metric that we just finished for a certain clientele of kids. High school has a percentage, a pretty high percentage, 40% of their letter grade as a campus includes CCMR, which is college, career, and military readiness. And we can break that down further. A portion of it is about TELPAS, 10% of it is about graduation rate. Like the high school understands that game. But parents, what I want you to hear is that about 80% of our district letter grade is based on this one day and this one test of your child. And so are there other things that you see on social media that you're like, man, these are great. Why is Snyder ISD still a D? It's because it doesn't matter all these other things from the state lens that we're doing that are great. It's this one day and this one test. And so what's important for us to understand is that, yeah, that letter grade carries weight. It matters. Kids need to be on grade level, period, or above. But there are also amazing things happening in our district that are not measured by this letter grade, that the state still values and we still get grant funds for, and we still are respected, and people come visit us because of all these other things we do. And they're good for kids, so we're still going to do all these other things. But this is how we carry a grade. And so for our junior high, I'm going to talk about it. Like it's a huge concern. I want you guys to know that it keeps me up at night that our junior high carries an F letter grade. And not because it's the letter F, but because it means that kids are not on grade level or kids are not growing. And that's unacceptable. As the leader of this organization, that is unacceptable. And so there has been tons of support and tons of strategic leadership from Dr. Duncan this year to make sure that letter grade improves. And what I want you to hear behind that is that your child improves. F or not, like you want your kid to grow. That's why they're at school. And that's our job. And we take it super seriously.
And I just have to say, as a parent of 3 kids that have gone through the junior high, my youngest is in his last year of junior high, and I'm sad about it. I'm sad because he has had a phenomenal year. I've seen such growth in him, maturity-wise, academic-wise, and I love what's going on at the junior high right now. And not that I'm not excited about high school, because my kids have all had great experiences really throughout the district, but at high school as well. But I'm sad that I'm not going to have a child on that campus to see the momentum continue. We have some great leaders doing great work, and I'm excited as a parent. And so I just had to put that little tidbit in there, just as a personal testimony about what I'm seeing on the junior high campus. So I applaud the work that they are doing. It is very strategic. You can feel it, but it's still fun. They're making it fun and they're getting kids excited about it.
Valerie, that's because culture drives academic outcomes. Always. Especially with children. Y'all know this as a parent. Like there's a fine line between them liking you and respecting you. And as a teacher, you have to find the perfect middle, because they're not going to listen to you if they don't like you. They're not going to listen to you if you don't dress pretty cool and you're not hip, but you can't be too hip because then you're their friend. So teachers have to find this, they have to strike this perfect balance, but so do campus leaders. Like the things that Duncan has done this year, like the Duncan booth and Starnival, like that's a culture-driven initiative. And it's a strategic leadership move.
I do want to talk about some of the exciting initiatives that we have coming up. But before we do, I'd like to ask if you have any kind of closing remarks about STAAR, things that you want to say to parents, to teachers, and even to our students.
The only thing that comes to mind is that this day matters, but we love your kid no matter what. And so as a parent, you decide what message you deliver to your kid. Teachers have been doing their best to strike a balance between, we want you to do your best. I don't need you to show out and clown and not care, but I also don't need you puking the morning of because you're so nervous. And so each child is so different. My daughter would do her best. My son wouldn't care. So the way I would tell them what to do is going to be very different. And so you know your kids. coach them and love them and direct them exactly how they need to do the best they can on game day.
Let's move a little bit into some things that initiatives that have happened since you have taken this seat. And seat is not a really appropriate word for you because I really don't ever see you sitting down except for this instance. But initiatives that you're excited about, and then what you're excited about that's coming after STAAR.
Ooh, so initiative. So I'm going to think outward facing. I've talked a little bit about some of the systems and expectations for our internal organization, but I'll tell you in this position, in every district, this is true, but boy, is it true in a smaller town for me. The relationships you have with the community also drive the reputation of the district. And so there is a reason that I do my best to attend a lot of community facing events because I am the face of Snyder ISD and I am the face of what a lot of parents expect to be great for their child. And so I want you guys to know as a community and as a parent that I understand the importance of a great leader at the top. I do, and I value it. And so one of the strategic moves I've been prioritizing during my entry plan, which Valerie started out as a 30, 60, 90 interim, now has moved to like a 120, 150 day plan, which is funny, but I like to see it. I've actually shared it with several people because it means I've had a lot of months to build upon what happened in the first 30 and then build upon what the next 30 needs to look like for 60. And I'm now talking 120 to 150. And that is so exciting to see the evolution of partnerships with Snyder ISD, rebuilding partnerships, apologizing for things that maybe I didn't do, but I own it. I'm Snyder ISD. Inviting our school board to go visit other districts, having other districts ask if they can come see us, inviting board members into classrooms, setting up stakeholder superintendent roundtables that are going to be coming out soon, spending time at Lions Club, spending time at Rotary, attending WTC events, partnering with Cogdell, like building out the guardianship program with Scurry County. Like, I want the community to see that I value the reputation of Snyder ISD and I take it personal because it matters that we are a respected group. We are a business, but we're in the kid business. And so it is so important to me that our outward facing, our external partnerships are great. Now, is everyone always going to like us? Of course not. But I don't ever want it to be because of us.
Well, I'm excited about what's ahead and what we've all accomplished this year. And Dr. Gore, I really appreciate you joining me and taking time out of your schedule to talk to me today about the programs and initiatives that are strengthening our district and the things that we're looking forward to coming up. As we continue our podcast, we'll continue these conversations, which are really meant to give our community a clearer picture of the work happening every day in our district. So I want to remind you, if there is a topic that you want to cover in a future episode, please reach out and share your ideas. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for supporting our students. And Dr. Gore, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, teachers, I'm not going to get emotional, but I love you. And you have prepared kids to do so well. And kids, let's go.